Area of rectangles and irregular figures. Topic 17-2 from Envision Math 6. Our first definition is for area. Area is the amount of surface it covers in square units. So what are square units? Square units means it's measured in plane, that means flat squares. So these would be examples of square units. This is an example of calculating area. It says Tessa is covering a bulletin board with fabric. The board is 4 feet high by 5 feet long. How much fabric does she need to cover the bulletin board? So we are looking at how many squares measured in feet would she need to cover this particular bulletin board. We are going to look at 2 different ways to figure area or to calculate it, and then we'll come back to the solution to this problem. The first way we have to calculate area would be to count the squares covered in a drawing. So in this picture, the bulletin board would be 4 feet by 5 feet. So we would put 5 squares across, 4 squares down, and then if we continue the pattern and we counted, we would see we would have 20 squares. Now, since this is being measured in feet, that would mean 20 square feet. And generally, when we put that in notation, we put feet and we put a 2 up above that. We are showing it as an exponent. Just if I put x squared, that would mean x times x. Feet squared means foot times foot, because that 1 square is measuring 1 foot across and 1 foot down. Foot times foot. That's what the notation means. Our second method would be using a formula. The formula for finding the area of a rectangle is length times width. So since my length is 4 and my width is 5, I would multiply those to get 20 square feet. So the solution to our problem, 4 feet times 5 feet, is 20 square feet. Now you may also run across problems where you are given the area of the rectangle and the length of one side, and they want you to find the length of the other side. So I'm going to use my formula because I know that the area is the length times the width. So I would simply use substitution. I would say 120 equals the unknown length times 8. So if I solve that algebraically, I would divide by 8 on the right. Using the golden rule, I would divide by 8 on the left. These would cancel, and that would leave me with 15 is the length, and I would have to put that in centimeters because that is the units we're using. Now sometimes you're going to come across an irregular figure that you need to find the area of. And there are really 2 different ways that you can do this. The first way would be to take your figure and cut it into smaller pieces. So I could look at this as one figure that is 8 feet by whatever 12 minus 5 is. That would be 7 feet. And then a smaller figure here, that would be 5 feet by 8 minus 5 is going to give me 3 feet here. So I would look at this first section that I'm going to label X, which would be 7 times 8, 56 feet. And then my next piece, which I'm going to call Y, 5 by 3, 15 feet. And if I add those together, that will give me a total of 71 feet. A second way to find the area of this irregular figure would be to treat the entire figure as one rectangle and then simply subtract the empty area. So if I look at the entire figure, I would have 8 times 12, which is 96 feet. And the smaller area is 5 times 5, 25 feet. If I subtract them, I would also get 71 feet. You may have a preference on how you choose to do this, and it might depend on the shape of the figure and how many pieces you would have to chop it into. Now you try. Answer questions 1 through 5. Hit pause on the video, and when you hit play again, the answers will appear. The area for figure 1 is 11 centimeters times 15 centimeters. When I multiply that, I get 165 centimeters squared. Remember, area is always measured in squares. For number 2, I'm going to choose to do the subtraction method. So I'm treating it as one large rectangle. I measured or multiplied 10 inches times 20 inches, which gives me 200 inches. And then I've got that little piece here that was 4 inches times 12 inches, which is 48. When I subtract that, I get 152 inches squared. For number 3, I've got 175, which is the area, equals 7 times the length. So that's my algebraic equation. I'm going to solve it by dividing by 7 on both sides of my equation, which leaves me with the length is 25 feet. Now remember, here I am giving the length of one edge, so this is not measured in squares. This is just feet. Number 4 is asking us to find the perimeter and area of a square measuring 4 inches on each side. For the perimeter, I know it is 4 times 4 side, so that gives me 16 inches. This is a linear measurement, so it is just straight inches. Now for the area, I am multiplying 4 squares by 4 squares, which gives me 16 inches squared. Now we're measuring in squares, and you can see by my grid that that is indeed 16 inches squared, and in this instance, those measurements are equal. And for number 5, they're saying 24 feet squared is the area, and we have 3 feet as the width, and we don't know the length. So I will, in my algebraic equation, divide by 3 on both sides, which is going to give me 8 feet for a length. And again, this is a linear measurement. This is not in squares. All right, go ahead and do your quick check and see how well you understood today's lesson.